This is episode 8 of a Radiance Revival podcast, and today we're going to talk about how your attitude towards one aspect of life overlaps and drips into the rest.
You are listening to a Radiance Revival podcast where we rebirth and unearth your inner brilliance by focusing on love, energy, and freedom. I am your host, coach, and brilliance believer, Catherine Sogard. In this podcast, you will learn that you are your biggest advocate, fan, and creator of your own destiny by using the radiance you were born with. When you are empowered to use this inner brilliance, you can create your best life. So let's get this Radiance Revival started.
We are back for another episode, and I'm excited about this episode because I think this really shows people that if they allow themselves to have a certain attitude about one dimension of their life or one aspect of their life, it really can leak over and cause issues in the rest. And this is one thing that I love getting clients to think about because it really can change everything in your life. And I think that is so cool when you realize you have that much power over all of the aspects of your life to make the difference that you want. So when I say aspects of life, I mean the dimensions of your life that sometimes we try to keep separate. And I think society has really trained us to keep them separate, i.e. you all have heard the phrase, leave your home life at home when you come to work, or leave it at the door, or some sort of something like that. And coming from a corporate world, I heard that repeated over and over and over and over again. And to be honest, I never thought that it was super realistic. Yeah, I went along with it and tried to make that work. But in all reality, we can't keep our lives separate because our life is one thing. It is a lot of dimensions of stuff, but that makes, each of those dimensions or each of those aspects make our life a whole life, as opposed to being like, okay, my work is my work, my home is my home, my money situation is my money situation, my love life is my love life, my kids are my kids, and keep trying to keep them all separate. It's not realistic. Think about it as when you're sick. If you are not feeling 100%, that affects other things in your life. That affects your ability to go to your work. That affects your ability to be happy sometimes. That affects your ability to sleep. And that in turn leaks over into every other aspect of your life, especially if you end up being sick for a long amount of time. So when I work with clients, I like to talk to them about we set goals obviously at the beginning, and we kind of talk about the things that they want to focus on. And a lot of the time they want to improve their standing with their financials, or they want to be stable enough with their financial situation that they are able to, start enjoying life for life as opposed to just hitting the grind and just always being the same way. So as we dig a little deeper, looking at those financials or looking at their situation, I like to take them through an attitude evaluation to see how they feel about the other aspects of life, because sometimes it's their weight, or sometimes it's their health, or sometimes it's their confidence, or sometimes it's their home life, or sometimes it's their love life that is transferring their attitude into their current work and not allowing them to focus on the things in their current work that would make them feel more joy and have that sense of accomplishment. And in turn, that transfers outside to how people see how they feel about their jobs, see how much more effort they're putting in because they enjoy their work. And that translates into raises or translates into promotions. And sometimes what my clients realize is they're able to bloom where they're planted instead of changing and uprooting their entire lives to get the outcome that they're searching for in that certain aspect of life. So what got me thinking about this for this specific podcast was I was doing a little bit of self-coaching on my own using a method that is called EFT, or some of you may know it as tapping. Tapping is a process that has really come to popularity or been brought to the masses by a person named Nick Ortner. And there are 9 tapping points on your body. Most of them are on your face and your head. Just go to thetappingsolution.com, or you can Google tapping or EFT, and then you can kind of identify those points and you'll kind of get a better understanding. There are tons of YouTube videos about tapping. If you're interested in learning more about tapping, I will put a couple of links to my favorite tapping YouTube videos as well as the tappingsolution.com in the show notes so that you can check that out. So I was doing some tapping of my own on my health, and I remembered the work that I'd been doing with clients regarding how your attitude about one thing drips out into your attitude about another thing. And this tapping process that I was doing, one phrase really popped out to me in analyzing my health. Acknowledging this pressure and letting it go, I love and accept myself. Coming from a health and wellness and fitness background, I do put a lot of pressure on myself to be healthy, to make healthy choices, to set an example of being healthy. And when I fall short, or what I tell myself is me falling short, I struggle with, who I am, because health and fitness is supposed to be a huge dimension of my life, and it's something that I teach and something that I have a background in and something that I really value. But with that value, when I'm not, reaching the bar that I set out for myself, I can really feel like I'm letting myself down. And the revelation that I had during that section is that is also how I feel sometimes about my own relationship, or how I feel about the amount of money that I have in my bank account, or how I feel about my job performance. Have you ever noticed when something goes wrong in your life, something else goes wrong in your life? Like my grandma used to say when she got dementia, if it's not one thing, it's two, instead of if it's not one thing, it's another. We have a joke in my family that her saying is actually more true than the true saying, if it's not one thing, it's another. For me, allowing myself to acknowledge that I am putting a lot of pressure on my health right now, and that pressure that I'm putting on my health puts pressure on the other dimensions of my life. And if I truly want to break out of the cycle and improve my health, or improve my money, or improve my relationships, I have to realize that I'm putting so much pressure on my health that it's dripping into the other aspects of my life. Those attitudes that I have about health and how I have to live up to a certain standard that I have to live up to because I'm a health and fitness person are dripping into my relationship, are dripping into my performance at work, are dripping into my financial status. So you have to change the attitude and give yourself a little grace. Knowing that pressure in small amounts is a good thing, and being able to let go of the heavy pressure that is holding you back, and understanding that you're awesome. You were born with an amount of radiance that is a kind that no one else has. And by letting go of some of the pressure and loving and accepting yourself for where you are right now, and that sometimes when you think it's one thing in your life, one aspect in your life that's not going the way that you want, you have to look at a different aspect, because you've created a mindset, you've created an attitude in that dimension of life that isn't serving you to achieve the goals that you have set in another dimension of life. So today, what I want you to do is give yourself a little grace. Know that you are great. Know that you are brilliant. Know that you are radiant. And it's okay to love and accept yourself the way that you are, because that is the first step in the journey that you are on to get to the place where you want to be.
All right, loves, thank you for listening to yet another brilliant, energy-packed episode of the show. If you haven't yet subscribed, what the heck are you waiting for? You know it's my mission to help women revive their inner radiance so they can live their best lives. So if you enjoyed this episode, leave a brilliant review so that more women can find us and join us, radiate our brilliance across the universe.